Welcome to the Hiring Manager's course on the offer process for external candidates. This course will provide hiring managers with an understanding of what is involved in the offer process, as well as when and how the tasks are carried out. Before we get started, let's take a moment to learn some basic navigation of this course. On the left-hand side of the screen, you can see the course content and where you are in the presentation. Controls at the bottom of the screen let you pause or review slides. You can click the volume icon to adjust sound, click the question mark to be able to read presentation notes or to access help, and there is also an option to maximize the screen. Upon completion of this course, you will be able to understand the offer process, follow the steps in preparing an offer, and identify the roles and responsibilities of those involved in the process. The offer process team. Based on hiring managers' feedback, the DCSA offer process has been reviewed to improve the time to hire. This training will take you through the process from the time the hiring manager selects a candidate after the interviews to the offer acceptance. But first, let's take a look at the offer process team. There are a number of people and teams who work together to ensure a positive and expedient experience for both the hiring manager and the prospective employee. These include the hiring manager, the talent acquisition consultant, also known as recruiter, and the talent acquisition manager for the region or metro, people services, office administrator and/or office liaison, and the selected candidate. Other tools used in this process are Connexa Brass Ring, which is the applicant tracking system we use to create and post requisitions and track candidates through the hiring process, and the Global Offer Form, which is generated from Connexa Brass Ring. Next, we will take a look at the roles and responsibilities for each of these groups. Remember, this is the start of the offer process, so before we arrive at this point, a requisition has been posted and/or advertised, and interviews with qualified candidates have been conducted. Then, the hiring manager selects a candidate to hire after interview, engages the talent acquisition consultant to draft a global offer form, and reviews the offer letter in the U.S. only. In Canada, the talent acquisition consultant reviews the offer letter on the hiring manager's behalf. The talent acquisition consultant works with the hiring manager on the global offer form, routes the form for approval, has the offer letter drafted by people services and reviews with the hiring manager, and communicates with the candidate on the hiring process. The talent acquisition manager works to resolve any pre-offer, pre-employment screening, or verification issues, reviews the global offer form, assists in obtaining executive-level approval when appropriate. People Services sends draft offer letter to the talent acquisition consultant, sends offer letter to the candidate, confirms the candidate's acceptance of the offer, and orders a background check and submits the request for drug screening tests to health and safety if required. And finally, the selected candidate acknowledges offer by either accepting or declining, agrees to background check, takes any required drug screening tests, completes all preliminary paperwork and signs up for benefits online, conducts onboarding activities, and of course, shows up for work. How the offer process works. After selecting the candidate, the hiring manager must contact the talent acquisition consultant working on the requisition for hire and work together on gathering all information required for the offer. The exploratory discussion with the candidate is to find out what the candidate is willing to accept for the position. A verbal offer cannot be extended until the global offer form has been approved. It's best to have the talent acquisition consultant contact the candidate as they know what to say and what not to say during the discussion. Executive offers will require additional information and approvals. Background checks can take 5 to 10 days to be returned. Be sure to set a start date that accounts for this activity. Candidates are requested to complete drug screens in 3 days if possible, or sooner. The sooner it's done, the better. The next step is creating the global offer form. The talent acquisition consultant will create the global offer form in Connexa Brass Ring. Not all offers are equal. Depending on the type of offer, different people may need to approve the global offer form, and this adds time to the process. Work with the talent acquisition consultant to manage the timeline and expectations of the candidate. It is important to make sure the candidate is aware of the likely timeline and knows what to expect and when. Also, details matter. Sometimes during the offer process, situations may arise necessitating changes to the offer. This may be a result of a background check taking longer than expected or a renegotiation of the offer itself. In most cases, the global offer form will need to be reapproved regarding those changes. The talent acquisition consultant should notate the change and reason behind it in the global offer form, so any questions by approvers are answered up front. If the candidate's salary, start date, or other information in the offer letter changes, a modified global offer form must be reapproved before a new offer letter can be sent to the candidate. The talent acquisition consultant with the hiring manager then reviews requirements such as salaries, bonuses, PTO or vacation in Canada, relocation assistance, and pre-employment requirements such as drug screens, motor vehicle records if required, etc., as well as identifying the office administrator. Executive offers will require additional information and verbiage for the offer. The executive search team will work with compensation and the necessary approvers for each individual requirement, including corporate titles, net service revenue, bonus targets, etc. Once all the information has been collected on the global offer form, the talent acquisition consultant identifies the approvers based on the offer detail requirements. For full-time employees with salaries up to $150,000 and no special requirements, the approvers will be the regional talent acquisition manager and the area business unit lead or operations director for the metros. For full-time employees or offer letters exceeding the salary of $150,000 and for PTO requests outside the 15-day standard, we will need an additional approver, the human resources business lead. For sign-on bonuses exceeding $10,000, we will need the approval of area manager, human resources business lead, and regional executive. The talent acquisition consultant then routes the global offer form for approvals via Connexa Brass Ring. Each approver will receive the global offer form subsequently and will review the details carefully. As for executive offers and corporate title, we need pre-approvals by the Compensation Department, Senior Human Resources Director, Regional Executive or Business Line Executive, Senior Vice President Human Resources, and Chief Operating Officer, Chief Growth Officer, Chief Financial Officer. This is for M2 level positions or higher, with the requirement of a corporate title or E1 level position. These requests will also require net service revenue details as well as a brief rationale. Once the global offer form is approved, People Services prepares a draft offer letter and sends them to the talent acquisition consultant for review. The talent acquisition manager will receive a draft PDF copy of the offer letter, which they will then compare with the global offer form to ensure all information has transferred to the letter accurately. If relocation is included, People Services will include the repayment agreement to the offer letter. In the United States, the talent acquisition consultant sends the draft offer letter to the hiring manager for approval, who should review the draft letter within 24 hours. In Canada, the letter is reviewed by the talent acquisition consultant on behalf of the hiring manager. If it changes any details from the global offer form, it may need to be routed for approval again, depending on the change. Once the hiring manager and talent acquisition consultant are satisfied with the draft offer letter, the talent acquisition consultant then sends an email to People Services with an okay to send the letter to the candidate. After the draft offer letter has been reviewed and approved, People Services sends the offer letter via email to the external candidate. The email will also have a link to the candidate portal, which provides various links to information on AECOM and benefits offered. The external candidate reviews the information and responds via the candidate portal. The hiring manager, the talent acquisition consultant, the talent acquisition manager and People Services, as well as the office administrator or office liaison, will get an email notification to the candidate's decision. When an offer is accepted, People Services will launch the background check within 24 hours of receiving the consent form. The background verification process usually takes between 5 to 10 business days. If other tests are required, such as a drug screening or driver assessment, People Services will also initiate those at this time. In the United States, background checks are mandatory for all positions. In Canada, they are mandatory for all non-technical positions, for instance, accounting, finance, legal, human resources, IT, vice president, and AECOM corporate. Technical positions such as engineering do not need a background check unless required by the client. Candidates must pass all required pre-employment screening prior to starting work, so be sure to allow time as appropriate. If the client accepts the offer and these steps are completed, the next step is the onboarding process. If the client declines the offer, the request goes back to recruitment. Conclusion. This completes the offer process for external candidates training course. In summary, you have learned how the offer process works, the steps in preparing an offer, and the roles and responsibilities of groups involved. Thank you for participating in this training. If you have any questions, please contact your regional talent acquisition manager for any recruitment matters.